call the meeting to order. This is a public hearing that we're having prior to the commission meeting itself. So anyone that wishes to speak in regards to these two zoning requests, let me read them to you, and then we'll take audience comments. Bedford County Board of Commission will conduct an open public hearing for the following request. Zoning request, Robert Molchan from SEC Inc. It's in regards to 1842 Fairfield Pike, that's Shelbyville, tax map 69, parcel 25, currently zoned A1. A portion of the 3.35 acres from the 19-acre tract is being proposed to be rezoned to C1 for commercial retail space or gas and convenience station. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on this particular request? Anyone from the audience? If not, we'll go on to the second one. This is zoning request from DHRK Properties, LLC. It regards to Highway 231 North, lying to the north of the intersection of 231 North and Edie Road, Shelbyville, tax map 40, parcel 7, currently zoned A1. Owner requests 10 acres from the 195 acres to be rezoned to commercial 1 or C1 for mini storage units. The portion of the parcel seeking to be rezoned lies as follows. Beginning at a point on Highway 231 North, 726 feet north of the intersection of Edie Road and the said Highway 231, west exactly perpendicular to Highway 231 North, 1,000 feet. From that point, continuing south exactly parallel to 231 North to a point where it intersects with Edie Road. From that point on Edie Road, 1,000 feet. From the intersection of 231 North continues east on the said Edie Road 600 feet. From that point on Edie Road continues north exactly perpendicular with Highway 231 North 676 feet. From that point continues east 400 feet to the said Highway 231 North, the total zoned area encompassing 10 acres plus or minus. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in regards to this rezoning on 231 and Edie Road? Anyone have comment? We'll declare the public meeting closed, and we'll call the regular commission meeting to order. Ask you to stand, and we'll be led in prayer by Commissioner Jeff Sweeney. And I want to report to you before he prays that Commissioner Ferris, who had had heart surgery, is home and is doing better. So we're grateful for that. If you'd lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the men and women in this room and their desire to serve Bedford County. We're thankful to have Commissioner Yaki back with us. We ask that you be with those who are not with us tonight, especially with Brian Ferris. Watch over him and help him to recover from his heart surgery. We ask it be with Don Gallagher as he recovers from knee surgery. We ask that you lead us in a way that is righteous and that we look to you to lead us in a direction that the county needs to move. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Thank you. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll now have the Sheriff, Austin Swing, open the meeting.
Hear ye, the Bedford County Board of Commissioners is now in session. The Honorable Mayor Chad Graham presiding.
Thank you, and be seated. I want to welcome our visitors and thank you for being here tonight. And we hope that you find this meeting to be informative and indicative of county government being conducted on your behalf. Roll call by Donna Thomas.
Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Brent Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Farrer.
Here.
Commissioner Sanders.
Here.
Commissioner Brothers.
Here.
Commissioner Patterson.
Here.
Commissioner Tony Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Vick.
Here.
Commissioner Gunn.
Here.
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Epperson.
Here.
Commissioner Ferris. Commissioner Sweeney.
Here.
Commissioner Gallagher. Commissioner Yaki.
Here.
Commissioner Castleman. Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Pinson.
Here.
15 present, 3 absent.
All right, next on the agenda is approval of the County Commission minute meeting from January 2014, 2020.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Under elections and confirmations, under the notaries.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, hearing none. Under appointments, we do have some tonight. We have some upcoming as well. Under the Ag Extension Advisory Committee, John Teague, through UT Extension, has put forward the following names. I will read to you for confirmation to that particular committee. There are specific requirements of background and what have you in regards to those positions, so we always look to them to make the recommendations. The first recommendation is Commissioner Don Gallagher to serve a second 2-year term. What's the wishes?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, and then Janet Boyce, and this would be her second 2-year term. Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? All right. And next is Commissioner Ed Castleman. This would be his second 2-year term as well.
Motion approved. Second.
All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. And then Don Curl, this would be his third 2-year term. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Next, Board of Zoning Appeal. I would like to put forth Wayne Hart's name.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Under the Planning Commission, I'd like to put forth Jay Graham's name.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. No presentations tonight. Under resolutions, resolution number 20-19, and this is a resolution to authorize the mayor to sign a proposal with the TDOT, and this is in regards to the work being done from Jenkins Road to State Route 276. So it's a formality resolution required for them to do the work.
Move to approve.
All right. Motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Thank you all so much. Next up is Resolution 2020, and this is one of those CDBG grants. That's Community Development Block Grants. Typically, we look and work toward water. That is the case here as well. We are partnering with the City of Wartrace, so this would be contingent on them passing on the 24th their resolution. But through the South Central Development District, there was thought that we could help the folks at Union Ridge area by the county government putting in the actual grant request for the tank system to hold water, and then the City of Wartrace actually applying for the line structure to be able to move the water to that area. Now, there are matching grants, or these, I think it's 10%, but in both of these cases, the City of Wartrace would be picking up the match. So it would be no dollars to the county government, but we would be required to be the one to be on the grant. So what's the wishes of the body?
Motion to approve. Second.
All right. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Up next, under the reports of the standing committees, the Rules and Legislative Committee. Now, this is in regards to the public hearing that we just had, that there was no comments by the public. The first one is application for rezoning and planning of 1842 Fairfield Pike, Shelbyville. And I believe Chris is here if you had a particular question. What's the wishes of the body?
Motion approved.
Motion second. Is there any other discussion?
I think Chris ought to at least address them briefly before the commission, so we can say we
Is he
at
here?
least addressed him. Is he here?
Chris? Well, I talked to him earlier today and was under the impression he would be here. So I don't believe he is.
Well, maybe Jeff and I can do a little bit of it. Both of these parcels were brought to the Planning Commission. It was unanimous vote on all of them.
Okay.
The Fairfield Pike, the only thing we had to watch was that the mailbox, so to speak, for this place would be on Fairfield Pike because it can't be on the bypass. The 231 was, there wasn't any problems with it, and even the people representing them discussed future development as well. So from the Planning Commission, these were unanimous votes.
Okay. So did we have a motion and a second on the first one? That was the application to rezone and planning 1842 Fairfield Pike. All right, we do have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion or comments on that particular site? All right, when your name's called, vote for or against, please.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Gunn? Yes. Commissioner Sanders?
Yes.
Commissioner Pinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Fair? Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Brent Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Vick?
Yes.
Commissioner Tony Smith?
Yeah.
Commissioner Brothers?
Yes.
Commissioner Patterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Epperson?
Yes.
Commissioner Yockey? Commissioner Sweeney? Does anyone wish to change your vote? 15 ayes, 0 noes.
All right, next on the agenda is the second rezoning request. That's application of rezoning and planning, and this is regards to the Highway 231 North at Edie Road.
Move to approve.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion or clarification regarding this? All right, is your name called? Vote for or against, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Farrer? Commissioner Brown? Commissioner Pinson? Commissioner Sanders?
Yes.
Commissioner Gunn? Commissioner Anderson? Commissioner Sweeney? Commissioner Yockey? Commissioner Epperson? Commissioner Patterson? Commissioner Brothers? Commissioner Tony Smith? Commissioner Vick?
Yes.
Commissioner Brent Smith? Does anyone wish to change your vote? 15 ayes, 0 noes.
Next, under Rules and Legislative Committee, is amendment declaration of restrictions, covenants, and regulation, conditions, and easements for the 231 North Business Park. After we have a motion and a second, if you do have questions, Commissioner Vick has had the helm on this, and so he would be able to answer your questions. What the wishes of the body?
Motion approved.
Second.
All right, so we do have a motion and a second. Is there discussion or questions you would like from Commissioner Vick? All right, hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? All right. Enforcement, nothing to report. Under Courthouse and Property Committee, we did have submitted for the Ag Center one piece of surplus. All right, motion is second. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Linda and I believe Jeff Sweeney, Commissioner, or maybe I'm sorry, Anita. Moving too fast. Sorry. All right. All right, now under Financial Management Committee, first item, purchase of Building 301 North Main Street from the state to restore permanent records. All right, so we got a motion and a second. Now we're open for discussion. Commissioner Anderson.
My concern here is I just don't see, to me, how this is a good deal for the county at $100,000. 4 or 5 years ago, and I actually went back and talked to these individuals, this building went up for auction. And it brought $27,000, and the second reading it brought $36,000. So it's been sitting 5 more years vacated, and now we're paying $100,000. And I just don't see how that's a good deal to me, because I know what it might appraise for, but at auction it couldn't even get $36,000 brought to it. Then it appears to me the renovations look to be $150,000 to $200,000. And one thing that really troubled me was the utilities. It looked like being $800 a month. That's an awful lot of money, and I'm sure it's going to pass, but those are my concerns.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner Yockey.
I've talked to several of you, and this will take me a few minutes, so bear with me. This started in probably 2015 with Mayor Ray. The Public Records Commission, the State Public Records Commission, wanted there to be an established Public Records Commission in each county. And Donna heads this up for us. We have about 6 members. He put me on it, I think because I fussed about the attic when I couldn't find a zoning map. And so his punishment was, because I kept bugging him on it, was to add me to this committee. But John Jones from Normandy, Carol Roberts, our archivist, Judge Rich is on it, Johnny Reed, and I may have left someone off, but we started in 2015 with the purpose of each department going through what records they have and determining whether these were to be permanent records and stored, or whether they were to be temporary. It took us 2 years, and we're still working on it a little bit. Before the mayor got, sick, he and I think Donna was in on some conversations about what are we going to do with all the things that are in the attic that are permanent records, and some which had been damaged. It was a disaster up there. There was no organization to it. It's stuff scattered everywhere, and we are mandated by the state to take care of these public records. So we tossed around everything. We tossed around the Medical Arts Building. We talked about, here in this building when things were vacated. In any other places that, so to speak, might present storage space. But it's not just the storage space, it's being able to catalog these things and someone go in and find something when needed. So I really don't know who brought up the Social Security building. I know at one time we were looking at it as maybe a possible juvenile detention expansion, and it may have started from that point. But when Mayor Graham came on board and we revisited everything, Pat Marsh said he would look into what would be necessary on the Social Security building to be able to either be given to us, which was right up my alley, or some sort of offer being made. The problem with, and Commissioner Anderson, this may answer a little bit of that, is there's a little bit of red tape involved because of the federal government and it being a Social Security building. So the person who's in charge of properties with our state pretty much said they would have just about give it to us if they could, but they couldn't because of the federal ties. So Desjardins' office was apprised of our problem. Pat Marsh's office worked with the General Services. They never would give us a value that they wanted. They put it up for auction in last spring. We did not bid on it. They said basically they would not take less than the appraised value of $190,000. And that may be the answer to your values that maybe were offered. So time went on and really didn't hear much from him. And then he contacted me and said, look at that building and see what you all have to do to get it to be what you want it to be, a repository, not public access, but a repository for your public records and an acclimated climate that the permanent records will be preserved, they can be categorized, and so forth and so on. So Commissioner Sweeney helped me. We did walkthroughs, and they're in your packet, and did the best we could. And I know Mr. Brent's going to fuss on me because it's not exact, but or Mr. Smith's going to fuss on me, but we did the best we could with coming up with values of what we thought we would have to do. And the two main important ones were the air conditioning system at 68% humidity and making sure that the roof was leak-proof. We subtracted that $130-something thousand for everything we could come up with from the $190, and Mayor Graham made the state an offer for the $60,000 based on that. We were just ballparking. So they sent back a letter right before Christmas that they could not accept the $60,000, but they would take $100,000 for the 47-plus square footage building. So with that, we proposed all of this to Courthouse and Property, and then proposed it to go to Finance. This money is not property tax payers' money. This is all archives money. We get about and Donna helped me, maybe $110,000 or $130,000 a year coming in from the archives. So this would be a project over several years, not just today or tomorrow. Best estimate that we can come up with is about $40,000 or $50,000 of that is needed each year for our part-time archivist or our clerk and archivist. And Daniel Kleindentz gave me that dollar value on the utilities, best he could estimate from comparable buildings. But then he did say that since there's no public in and out access, it would probably be best, but I left it, as it is. And so with that is how all of this evolved over these last 4 or 5 years. So this is not just a fly-by-night request from the Public Records Commission via the mayors. It's been studied and looked at, the medical arts. We all agreed that the medical arts building is a financial resource, that space out there can be rented and income brought in. The courthouse, the same thing. It's going to be needed for things that would bring traffic into the courthouse. And to use it as space for just storage cuts down on kind of what our thing is of keeping traffic through the courthouse, keeping traffic on the square. The proximity to the courthouse for our archivist, it's just down the hill, was as another plus for us rather than driving all the way here or there or wherever. But again, no taxpayer money involved in it.
All right, does anyone else have a comment? Commissioner Farrell.
I have a couple of questions. Okay, Mayor, the first one is, we offered them $60,000. Is that what you said, Commissioner Yockey?
Right.
Who approved that? I don't recall that. I'm thinking back.
No.
It was just a verbal thing between us and the director, Bruce Nelson, or how did that come about? I'm a little confused.
It's kind of like a fishing expedition.
Why don't we make that official first and see what they do? I know Bruce Nelson is director of special projects down there, but let's really fish. Let's offer that ironclad and see what they do, because I've got some concerns with it. And thank you, Commissioner Sweeney, for doing all that. But if we've got to repair a roof for $90,000 and HVAC unit for maybe $40,000. I mean, and they need to know that in that proposal. We're going to have to put that much more money in it, perhaps. Yeah. And I know it may be worth, I think a local real estate person appraised it at 150, didn't he?
150 or 140,
That's more probably what it's worth. But and another question, how long has it been vacant? Do we know when
It's right at 8 years, 8 to 10 years. I don't know an exact date.
It was closer to
the
10,
parking
it's been empty a long while.
The parking is the main problem.
It's only 8 spaces, isn't it?
Right. And back, Mr. Farah, Mr. Nelson has all these figures, and when Jeff and I were trying to get the data together for the courthouse and property, he knew exactly what we were doing. He knew all of our figures. He knew why we were offering the $60,000. I don't know how many committees he has in his the GSA that he has to report to or go to, but he had to go back to committees and tell them what we had offered. He did present all of what our estimated costs were. He had all of our paperwork that you've got there before you. So he was offered the $60,000 in a non-binding agreement, because we had not been to any committee because we didn't know what to come to the committee with.
Right, I'm not outside of wanting to buy it, but I don't know about, and $100,000 may be okay, but with being vacant 10 years and having to sink another 130, that's just known expenses, and I just got some reservations with that, as Commissioner Anderson said. There may be another $20,000 that's involved with carpet or tile or anything else in the building. I don't mind buying it, but I really would like to see us offer something less in writing and see what they do. Now, I know he said that, but I guess maybe if there's somebody above Bruce Nelson that's, I don't know. Does he have the sole power to say no?
I believe so now.
One of the things you have to understand that Linda brought up is it's a federal building, so it's not a state building. So we're limited on where we can go with the building. The building itself would cost us about $500,000 to build if we were to build it from ground up. We're trying to look at long-term, the next 10 years, what's going to happen with the existing sheriff's office.
All right, so we do have a motion and a second. As your name's called, vote for or against.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Farrer? Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Pinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanders?
Yes.
Commissioner Gunn?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
No.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Yes.
Commissioner Yockey? Commissioner Epperson?
No.
Commissioner Patterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Brothers?
Yes.
Commissioner Tony Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Vick?
Yes.
Commissioner Brent Smith?
Yes.
Does anyone wish to change your vote? 13 ayes, 2 noes.
All right, next on the agenda is under Financial Management Committee, number 2 is the Sheriff's Office had a surplus item.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, next on the agenda is TSBA District Policy Manual Maintenance and Online Service Agreement. This comes before this body because it's more than a 1-year contract. I believe it's 3. Motion second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Next on the agenda is the 231 Business Park Oversight Committee bylaws. These were updated but had not been before this body to be ratified.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Next up is addendum to the interlocal agreement between the Bedford County and the City of Shelbyville concerning the Commerce Business Park.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion regarding this? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. And Bedford County quarterly financial reports. Motion second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. We have made it to the end. Under announcements, early voting starts tomorrow. You'll be able to vote in the new annex in the basement. I was over talking to the election folks today. They're very excited to have the new setup, and it's going to be much easier access for the public to get in and out through there. So we encourage people to go and vote. This just came into us today. The architect that has been reviewing the juvenile detention center concept of potentially putting juvenile services where the workhouse currently is will be here Thursday at 1 o'clock. We'll be in the annex on the 2nd floor in the conference room. Anyone wishing to be there, here, or be a part, this is just, they changed the time to 1 o'clock. Come and be a part of it. Now, once this information, this is just data for us to look at, to give you some preliminary information. This then will go back to the subcommittee of the property committee that was looking at properties and what we would do with them and how we would go from there. Julie is heading that up. And I know there was some discussion that some folks might want to be involved in that process. So if you'll get with Julie, she'll get you on the committee if you want to do that and be involved. But Thursday at 1 o'clock, the architect will be here and has more objective data to talk to us about what it would cost, what some of your options are, and let you weigh out this. Once this information is gathered and understood, then it will go back to the committee for due diligence to decide then where you would really want to go with it. All right. And yes, sir. Yeah, Commissioner.
One, and I'm not going to leave anybody out here, but I want to thank Robert, Daniel, and whoever else had to do with our surplus sale was really good. I know we had several things that went through, and I thought everybody did a really good job. I want to thank them. And I want to thank the Boy Scout Troop number 390 that's back here in the back for coming tonight. It's always
Absolutely.
good to have them come out. We thank you guys for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you. Commissioner Mark Thomas.
Okay, y'all can stop packing up because this is going to probably take me a little while. I won't keep you too long. I know probably some of you saw in the paper and Mayor Chad Graham and City Manager Scott Johnson, myself, and Matt Doak, City Fire Chief, met with 26 firefighters last Friday that graduated a hazardous materials class. Now that is 80 hours of training that they put in addition to the firefighter training, the car rescue training, the swift water, the diving, numerous other items that they have to train in, and they completed that class. It's a very tough class. It's chemistry and a lot of things that they have to know before they can go out and handle this stuff. But they are now certified as technicians and handlers of hazardous materials. And there's quite a bit that comes through our county every day, either by trucks or train, vehicles that aren't marked. If they have less than a certain amount of pounds, they don't have to be labeled at all. And so this is stuff that they have dedicated their time to go into this. This was not a mandatory class. It was strictly volunteer. And I think I had about 15 students in there. There were 2 from Nashville and 2 from Columbia, and then the City Fire had several in there as well. And so they, like I say, they completed and graduated their class, and this was taught by the state of Tennessee. Scott lined that up, and they come down here and trained us, and we used the celebration grounds for our training out there and set up all of our simulated, and the Times-Gazette come out there and did a story on it, which I think hit the paper yesterday, John. It's today's paper, whatever. But and I say that, and I'm thankful for these guys. I'm proud of these guys because it's a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work. I would come back, or they would come back from class after 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and they'd spend the next 3 hours studying the fire hall as a group and comparing their notes and getting ready for the next day. But a lot of this is not possible without all of you who help fund them. And you say, well, the state paid for their training, but you have to give them the tools to work with. And so a lot of thanks to every one of us up here, and the ones that was, have passed in the past, that laid that foundation for them to get to where they are. Now, this is an ongoing thing. Every year they have to recertify in it. So it's and just about everything they do, and the EMS was part of this too. They have to have in-service. They have to recertify every year. So just wanted to give them a few minutes or take a few minutes and tell them thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. We certainly owe a debt of gratitude to all of our public safety servants. And as he said, this is above and beyond the call of duty for these folks. So they stand in the gap for us every day, and we're grateful for them. Is there any other announcements? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thank you.
Good. Miss ready to eat supper.
Lord, I thank you, Lord, for these public servants who have given themselves selflessly, Lord, for the betterment of this community. I pray tonight, dear God, that your wisdom and understanding, dear God, fall upon them, dear God. And that they would be of one mind and one accord again, Lord Jesus, according to your will and according to the betterment of this great city. We ask that you bless them, bless this meeting, dear Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Lopez. Appreciate you coming and doing our invocation. He has a date. Told him we'd get him in and out. So, roll call.
Councilmember Christie?
Here.
Councilmember Clanton?
Here.
Councilmember Ewing?
Here.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Here.
Councilmember Overcast?
Present.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Need a motion to adopt the agenda. Is there any additions or corrections? Okay. Have a motion to adopt the agenda as printed. Second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. That's approved. Approval of the minutes, the regular study session of January the 2nd, 2020, and the regular city council meeting of January the 27th, 2020. Everybody has those minutes. Any additions or corrections to be made to them? Hearing none, they'll stand approved as printed. At this time, we'll close our public stated meeting and open the public hearings. We have two items. First is an ordinance of the city of Shelbyville, City Council for the city of Shelbyville to establish compensation and benefits for senior members of the citizen members of the Shelbyville Power, Water, and Sewage Board of Directors and to provide for an effective date. Anyone like to speak on behalf of that, for or against? Hearing no comments, the next item is an ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend Appendix 1, Table of Uses of the Shelbyville zoning ordinance by adding a new use by right and correcting an existing use within the Industrial 1 I-1 zone district and repeal all previous ordinances and resolutions pertaining to Table of Uses and the Industrial 1, I guess it is, I-1 zone district, and to repeal any ordinance or part of an ordinance in conflict herewith. Anyone like to speak on behalf of that, for or against? Hearing no comments, we will close the public hearing and open the stated meeting. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to allow the city council to read caption only on ordinances.
Make that motion.
Have a motion, second? Have a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's approved. Old business, ordinances on second and final reading. An ordinance of the city of, you read those, don't you?
Yeah, I will. I'll be happy to. An ordinance of the city council for the city of Shelbyville to establish a compensation for citizen members of the Shelbyville Power, Water, and Sewage Board of Directors and providing for an effective date.
Okay, you've heard the reading of the ordinance and entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a motion, second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Christie?
Yes.
Councilmember Clanton?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Ewing?
Yes.
Okay, that's approved. Item B.
An ordinance of the Shelbyville City Council to amend Appendix 1, Table of Uses of the Shelbyville zoning ordinance by adding a new use by right and correcting an existing use within the Industrial I-1 zone district and to repeal all previous ordinances and resolutions pertaining to Table of Uses in the Industrial 1 I-1 zone district and to repeal any ordinance or part of an ordinance in conflict herewith.
You've heard the reading of the ordinance. Entertain a motion to approve. Have a motion, second?
Second.
Have a second. Discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Ewing?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
Yes.
Councilmember Clanton?
Yes.
Councilmember Christie?
Yes.
Okay, that's approved. New business, we have Two new items on first reading. Item A.
Okay, item A is an ordinance of the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee to approve the rezoning of .6 acres owned by Leroy Cunningham southwest of the intersection of Highway 231 on North Main Street and Noblet Street and referenced on Bedford County Tax Map 79, Group D, Parcel 8, and part of Parcel 7 from C2 General Business District to R2 Low Density Residential and repealing any ordinance or portion of ordinance in conflict therewith.
Okay, you've heard the reading of the ordinance. And yes, ma'am.
Mayor, if I may, right quick, just to remind you all, this rezoning ordinance came with an unfavorable recommendation from the Planning Commission. If you wish to pass, it has to pass with a, 2/3 majority. The motion could be either to pass it if you wish to, or if you wish to accept the unfavorable recommendation of the Planning Commission, then I would advise whoever makes that motion, make it so it says that you are accepting the Planning Commission's recommendation and you disapprove the rezoning amendment.
Okay. Okay, entertain a motion.
I move we accept the Planning Commission's recommendation and disapprove the ordinance.
Okay. Do we have a second? Second. I have a second. Do we have any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Christie?
Yes.
Councilmember Clanton?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Ewing?
Yes.
Okay, it fails.
The motion passed,
Oh,
but the ordinance failed.
motion passed ordinance.
Yes.
Okay. All right, item B.
Sorry, making my notes. Item B is an ordinance to amend the adopted budget ordinance as amended of the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee various funds for the fiscal year 2019-2020, the period ending June 30th, 2020.
Okay, you heard the reading of the ordinance. Entertain a motion.
Make that motion.
Have a motion to approve. Second.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Ewing?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
Yes.
Councilmember Clanton?
Yes.
Councilmember Christie?
Okay, that's approved. Resolutions. We have about 5 or 6 or 7.
Yeah,
Several.
we have several. A resolution authorizing an official delegation to the 2020 Tennessee Municipal League Legislative Conference in Nashville, Tennessee for March 16th and 17th, 2020, providing for the attendance and expenditures of that delegation consisting of the mayor, the city manager, and city council members. Whereas the TML will hold its annual Legislative Issues Conference in Nashville, Tennessee on March 16th and 17th, 2020, and whereas the conference will provide opportunity for the exchange of information and for valuable contacts with other government officials and city leaders on important legislative issues, and whereas the City of Shelbyville is deeply concerned with these matters in the interest of its citizens, now therefore be it resolved by the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, that this city shall be represented by the mayor, city manager, and city council members at the 2020 Annual Legislative Issues Conference. Be it further resolved, the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee will underwrite the ordinary and lawful expenses of this delegation, excluding spouses, and its attendance upon this conference.
Okay, you've heard the reading of the resolution. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion. Second.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Christie?
Yes.
Councilmember Clanton?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Ewing?
Yes.
Okay, that's approved. Item B.
Okay, Resolution B is a resolution of the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, authorizing an application for and the attendance of 2 representatives of the Shelbyville Historic Zoning Commission to attend the National Alliance of Preservation Commission Forum 2020 Conference in Tacoma, Washington from July 22nd through the 26th, 2020. Whereas the Tennessee Historical Commission provides grant funding to local historic zoning commissions to attend conferences intended to train and network local historic zoning commissioners nationwide. And whereas the City of Shelbyville has an active historic zoning commission that wishes to pursue training opportunities as provided by the Tennessee Historic Commission. And whereas the City of Shelbyville is a certified local government under the Tennessee Historic Commission. And whereas the state of Tennessee has provided a letter of award to the City of Shelbyville for a grant in the amount of $2,400 for the attendance of 2 members of this Historic Zoning Commission to the biannual national training event in Tacoma, Washington from July 22nd through the 26th in 2020. And whereas the city shall provide a match of 40% of the total cost, total projected cost is $4,000 with a grant contract of $2,400, local match $1,600. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, that Section 1, the mayor is authorized to sign the grant contract between the City of Shelbyville and the Tennessee Historic Commission for the purpose of sending 2 Shelbyville Historic Zoning Commission members to the National Forum for Training. In Section 2, that the City of Shelbyville authorize the expenditure of $1,600 of city funds in the fiscal year 2020 budget in accordance with the provisions of the letter and grant contract. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage by the mayor and city council.
You've heard the reading of the resolution. Entertain a motion to approve.
Mayor, before you all do a vote, I just wanted to clarify a couple of items. I did provide a memo late this afternoon, just some points of clarification. There would need to be a budget amendment in order to, if awarded this grant. What was in this fiscal year budget was around $550 for traveling expenses through this department. And of course, this would exceed. The scope of the grant does require 2 representatives go, and so the resolution speaks to about $1,600. We anticipate by the time you do flight, hotel, all of that, the city would be looking at an amendment, $2,600 less the $550. So just wanted to let you all know before you vote, there's only $550 available, and the grant comes around every 2 years. Historically, we've had funds hit both fiscal years, so it's just kind of hard to say on the timing, but it wouldn't exceed. I wouldn't anticipate $2,600.
$2,600 or $1,600?
There's $1,600 to, that's the 40% reflection of what's in the resolution, but if you go on and estimate up a little higher at $1,000 for the additional cost of the hotel and things like that that aren't covered, flight, those types of things, because that's for the conference itself, the registration. Anything that exceeds would be on us locally.
How much is the registration?
Well, for the 2, the total project amount is $4,000.
But you're saying the costs are really going to be closer to $5,000?
Yes.
And we've been doing this about every 2 years?
That is correct. The last one you all approved 2 years ago was for representatives to attend the conference forum located in Iowa.
Well, in light of all our historical districts and the things we need to be improving on the square with historical zoning, I move we adopt the resolution.
Okay, have a motion, second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Ewing?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
No.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
No.
Councilmember Clanton?
No.
Councilmember Christie?
No.
Okay, that fails, so we'll go to the next item, C.
Resolution C. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. I'm slow tonight. Resolution C is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of Shelbyville, Tennessee, authorizing an application for sewer rehabilitation through the Tennessee Small Cities Community Development Block Grant. Whereas funding is available from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development through the Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development, the ECD, to promote economic and community development in small cities across the state. And whereas the City of Tennessee is eligible for the Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Funds, and whereas there exists a need for continued improvement in the Schaffner-Bomer drainage basin of the Shelbyville sewer system in order to reduce leakage in the municipal sewer system, and whereas the City of Shelbyville, in cooperation with the Shelbyville Power, Water, and Sewerage System, wishes to make an application for said project, and whereas the Shelbyville Power, Water, and Sewerage System will complete all necessary application documents, collect all census information, and develop the project to be funded by the funds derived from this grant. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, that number one, the city staff in conjunction with the South Central Tennessee Development District and the Shelbyville Power, Water, and Sewage System staff is hereby authorized to submit an application for the Small Cities Community Development Block Grant, the CDBG. Number two, that the local funding match under the CDBG project shall be paid by Shelbyville Power, Water, and Sewage System as reflected in the proposed resolution of the Shelbyville Power System Board. And number three, that the Shelbyville Power, Water, and Sewage System shall be designated the entity for compliance with all CDBG funding requirements set forth in all grant award documents.
Okay, you heard the reading of the resolution. Entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Christie?
Yes.
Councilmember Clanton?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Ewing?
Yes.
Okay, that's approved. Item D.
Resolution D is a resolution of the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, authorizing an application for grant contract between the State of Tennessee, the Department of Transportation Aeronautics Division, in the amount of $60,000 for equipment. Whereas the State of Tennessee Department of Transportation is offering funding assistance for equipment for maintenance at airports. And whereas the purpose of the grant is for the purchase of 2 lawnmowers and 1 UTV aircraft tug. And whereas the mayor and city council of Shelbyville wish to encourage and facilitate projects that maintain the Shelbyville Municipal Airport, and whereas the city shall provide a match of 5% of actual project cost. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, that the mayor and city attorney shall have the authority to execute and sign for the city any and all documents, assurances, and agreements that may be required by the state of Tennessee in the administration of the grant for this project. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage by the mayor and city council.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a motion, second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Ewing?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
Yes.
Councilmember Clanton?
Yes.
Councilmember Christie?
Yes.
Okay, that's approved. We got our tug with us tonight. Becky, good to see you. Item E. She was pulling that plane around by.
Yeah, the tug operator. She's
Oh.
the operator, not the actual tug.
She was pulling the plane when I saw her. Me. Item E.
Okay. Resolution E is a resolution of the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, authorizing a grant application to the Tennessee Housing Development Agency for home grant funds. Whereas the Tennessee Housing Development Agency is accepting grant applications to authorize federal funding to address substandard housing, and whereas the City of Shelbyville is eligible for such home funds, and whereas there exists a need for rehabilitation of substandard housing in Shelbyville, Tennessee, and whereas the City of Shelbyville wishes to submit an application. Now therefore be it resolved that number one, the mayor of Shelbyville be authorized and directed to execute and submit an application for funds to the Tennessee Housing Development Agency for home funds in the amount of $500,000. Number two, the mayor of Shelbyville be authorized to enter into all necessary agreements with the Tennessee Housing Development Agency to receive grant funds and authorizing South Central Tennessee Development District to administer such grant funds. Number three, the South Central Tennessee Development District shall prepare all necessary documents for the completion of said application for the proposed project, and should the grant be awarded, shall be engaged to perform all administrative services for said project at a cost of $6,000 of the total award. Number four, $500,000 is the total cost of the project. What did I say?
6,000.
I'm sorry, 6% of the total award. Number 4, $500,000 is the total cost of the project, and no local matching funds are required to carry out the program.
Okay, you've heard the reading of the resolution. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a motion. Have a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Christie?
Yes.
Councilmember Clanton?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Ewing?
Yes.
Okay, that's approved. Item F.
Resolution F is a resolution of the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, authorizing a grant application with FEMA Homeland Security for the Assistance to Firefighters Operation and Safety Grant, also known as AFG. Whereas the City of Shelbyville operates a municipal fire department serving the citizens of the city with fire protection, fire prevention, motor vehicle extraction and rescue, emergency medical services, and specialized services, including hazardous materials, swift water rescue, and high-angle rescue. And whereas the Department of Homeland Security FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant is designed to enhance through direct financial assistance the health and safety of the public and firefighting personnel, and to provide a continuum of support for emergency responders regarding fire, medical, and all hazard events. And whereas legislations known as the Berry-Brady Act, which addresses dangers to the health and safety of firefighters due to continued exposure, became effective on July 1st, 2019. And whereas the City of Shelbyville wishes to minimize the risk to the health and safety of their firefighters by purchasing 53 sets of firefighter turnout gear and 34 air packs with an interchangeable harness at a total cost of $428,975.80. And whereas the Department of Homeland Security FEMA assists with such funding to accomplish this goal, and whereas the Mayor and City Council believe that the fire equipment purchased through the AFG grant will be utilized by the Shelbyville Fire Department to reach this goal. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, that number 1, the City of Shelbyville staff is authorized to apply with the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA for the 2020 Assistance to Firefighters Grant for Operations and Safety. Number 2, the Mayor is further authorized to enter into necessary contracts with said agencies to receive and administer such grant funds. And number 3, the City of Shelbyville will allocate a 10% local match for this grant in an amount not to exceed $42,897.58.
You've heard the reading of the resolution. Entertain a motion to approve. Have a motion, second?
Second.
We have seconds. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Ewing?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
Yes.
Councilmember Clanton?
Yes.
Councilmember Christie?
Yes.
Okay, that is approved. Item G.
Okay, your last resolution is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, acknowledging the adoption of the Berry-Brady Act and support thereof. Whereas the City of Shelbyville operates a municipal fire department serving the citizens of the city with fire protection, fire prevention, emergency medical services, and specialized services, including hazardous materials, swift water rescue, and high-angle rescue. And whereas the 111th Tennessee General Assembly adopted legislation known as the Berry-Brady Act, hereinafter referred to as the Act, which was subsequently signed by Governor Bill Lee and became effective on July 1st, 2019. And whereas the Act acknowledges the dangers to the health and safety of firefighters due to continued exposure to heat, smoke, fumes, or carcinogenic, poisonous, toxic, or chemical substances while performing the duties of firefighting. And whereas the City of Shelbyville wishes to do everything possible to minimize risk and to ensure the safety and long-term health of their firefighters. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, that number 1, the Mayor and City Council acknowledges the passing of the Berry-Brady Act. Number 2, the Mayor and City Council give full support of the Act and the implementation of any policy to minimize the risk and to ensure the safety and long-term health of the firefighters of the city of Shelbyville.
You've heard the reading of the resolution. Entertain a motion to approve.
Make that motion.
Have a motion, second? We have a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Christie?
Yes.
Councilmember Clanton?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Ewing?
Yes.
Okay, that's approved. Next, we have our business items, and before we get into that, I'd like to welcome the Leadership Bedford class. I see several of the youth here, and glad to have you all with us tonight. And you're always welcome anytime you want to come. And just appreciate y'all being here. Makes it look good out there to have several people here. And, all right, business items, accounts payable. Entertain a motion to pay the accounts. Have a motion, second?
Second.
Have a second. Any questions for Pam? Kate?
Go ask Pam.
She just changed. Pam. Okay, need a motion to approve. Have a motion, second?
Second.
Have a second.
Roll
Did I
call.
already do that?
Yeah.
I've already done that.
Councilmember
roll call.
Ewing?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
Yes.
Councilmember Clanton?
Yes.
Councilmember Christie?
Okay, that's approved twice.
Good and paid.
All right, the various department reports for January 2020 will be received as submitted. Next, we'll have a consideration motion to approve Treasurer's mid-year report for the fiscal year 2019-2020. And entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a
Second.
motion? Have a second. Any questions, anything you want to know?
Pat's done a good job with this.
Yeah. Okay. All in favor of approving that, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's approved. Next, we have consideration of motion to accept the Tennessee Comptroller's of the Treasurer's letter acknowledging receipt and approval of the fiscal year 2020 budget of the city of Shelbyville. Entertain a motion to accept that Comptroller's letter.
I make that motion.
Have a motion, second? Have a second. Any questions on that? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's approved, but accept that. Next, we have consideration of a motion to accept the 2019 departmental annual reports. Entertain a motion to approve those. Accept those. Have a second. Do have a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's approved. We accept those. Next, we have purchasing bids and awards here. Consideration of a motion to approve Neil Schaefer, Nashville, Tennessee, as the engineering firm for sidewalk improvements, Phase 3 and 4 TAP grants, as recommended by the Evaluation Committee. Entertain a motion to approve Neil Schaefer now. Have a motion, second?
Second.
Have a second. Any questions? Roll call.
Councilmember Christie?
Yes.
Councilmember Clanton?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Ewing?
Yes.
Okay, that's approved. Next, we'll have a consideration of a motion to approve the emergency purchase of a HESCO natural gas hot water boiler for the Shelbyville Recreation Center from HESCO Industries Incorporated, Nashville, Tennessee, in the amount of $16,480 as authorized by the city manager. Entertain a motion to approve that. Have a motion, second?
Second.
Have a second. Any questions? Roll call.
Councilmember Ewing?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
Yes.
Councilmember Clanton?
Yes.
Councilmember Christie?
Yes.
Okay, that's approved. Next, we have a consideration of motion to approve the sole source purchase of records management system upgrade for the police department from M&M Microsystems Incorporated, Maryville, Tennessee, in the amount of $71,000 as recommended by the police chief. Entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Have a motion, second?
Second.
Have a second. Any questions? Roll call.
Councilmember Christie?
Yes.
Councilmember Clanton?
Yes.
Councilmember Overcast?
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse?
Yes.
Councilmember Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Ewing?
Yes.
Okay, that's approved. Appointments, we have no appointments this month. Announcements, we have one here. City Hall will be closed on Monday, February the 17th, in observance of President's Day. Monday's trash will be picked up on Tuesday, February the 18th, with Tuesday's regular route. Are there any other announcements to be made? Entertain motion to adjourn. Have a motion, second. Have a second. All in favor, let me know by saying aye. Okay, that's approved. That's it. That's the end of the agenda.
Oh, yeah, I see that. He's all right. He's cool.